long. You're watching Premier League tonight, and already the three men to my left are being badly behaved. If you want to get involved in the show this evening, use the hashtag PL tonight. You're still moaning and groaning about Chris Foy and this and there's a fly in the studio, this offside.
Because you know, great defender here. If you're telling me if Morgan has deliberately played the ball, for me playing the ball is moving your foot towards and trying to play the ball. It's deflected off his shin into Fellaini's path, who's offside. It's offside. What's Chris Foy talking about?
Chris Foy.
Not the cyclist.
Yeah. What do you think?
I'm with Sav. I thought he looked offside to me. But I think if that's real, right, and the ball comes off you and they give a go, you'd say he's offside. You didn't purposely play the ball, did you?
No, not at all. I agree with the lads. It's the referees. We never agreed with him anyway we played, so I'm not going to agree with him now in the studio.
Quite right. And you're still frustrated that Rashford wasn't man of the match.
Yeah, yeah.
Who made the decision to give it to Paul Pogba, I wonder?
Seriously, you can, I love Rashford more than anyone, but you can't give it to a player who's played 20 minutes.
Yeah, but he's come on and he's had an impact in the game. He's got the goal.
Martial played better than Rashford.
Martial was brilliant, but didn't score.
Exactly, but he played better, right?
He played really well, but did he impact the game, the result?
Bailly was brilliant, but they had no attack, so you can't give it to him. De Gea had nothing to do. So I'm looking at the game thinking, who was probably the best player on the pitch, the most touches, the most influential? Pogba. But that's what time was quiet, Mata was quiet.
Pogba played well first half. Pogba played well first half. You can't give it to someone. You can't give it to someone for 20 minutes, but you can give it to someone for 45 minutes.
Well, he played 90 minutes.
Yeah, but he played well for 45. How many touches did he have?
He had about 10 shots. He played a lot of key passes. He had more touches than...
How many of them touches determined the end of the game's result?
Well, he controlled the tempo of the game. Rashford came on, then he could have given it to Fellaini. He came on.
Rashford came on and done the hardest thing in the game.
Fellaini was man of the match. Lingard was man of the match because he got an assist as well. I disagree with that because he scored. Fellaini got a goal.
Scoring the goal is the hardest thing to do. Score the goal. He came on and done that.
So Fellaini was second man of the match. That means Rashford was first one.
No, Rashford was good other than that.
He was good, yeah. But you know I love him, but he's not man of the match for 20 minutes.
I can't have it.
We know that. There you go. You never thought so much conversation and decision and debate went into who was choosing man of the match.
On the biggest debate. Football show.
What? Get it out, Rob. Get it out.
It's the biggest one. According to Jake's Twitter, it's the biggest, best footballing debate. And I agree with you, Jake.
Good.
Yes.
Correct.
The best debate on football on TV.
Good. And lots of people are getting in touch today to say that you've come dressed as the Premier League lion with a new hairstyle.
What?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's out of order. That's out of order.
What?
As
if it is.
Does he
looks like he's in Miami or something.
Does he dress the Dolce Gabbana at all?
Right, I think it's time we got on with the show, don't you? These are the headlines from Mixio Day in the Premier League today. Raheem to the rescue. That is the big talking point, the first talking point today. The red card for Raheem Sterling after managing to pick up the winner for Manchester City today. Was it a ludicrous decision? You were pleased to know that Chris Foy is going to join the conversation about that. And it did smell like Toon spirit today. Congratulations, Newcastle. Their first points in the Premier League this season. And the final headline of the day, Swans silence Selhurst. How much pressure at the moment on Frank de Boer with Crystal Palace really struggling at the moment. But we're going to start with the City game. And Paul Bent, a City fan, spent the day in Bournemouth. This was his day at the game.
Just arrived here at sunny Bournemouth. As you can see, glorious day for football. Really looking forward to today's game. Expecting 3 points for City. Going to head down to the stadium shortly. So just arrived at the Vitality Stadium, a glorious day this afternoon for some football. Expecting a 2-0 win for City. A bit surprised that Aguero's been left out and John Stones, but really pleased to see Benjamin Mendy and Bernardo Silva in the lineup. Really entertaining first half here. The first goal from Bournemouth, world class, nothing you can do about that. Very stoppy start from City, but they've come back into the game since the equaliser. They needed to score. Did so at a time when they weren't really playing well. Edison kept a minute when it could have gone to 2-0, but since then it's been total football from City. Absolutely brilliant at the end. I think you need to sit down after all that. Cannot believe we won. We're very scrappy in the second half. It looked like it was never going to come. But the most important thing at this stage of the season is getting 3 points, and Sterling's done that for us, so absolutely made up.
I thought he would be. It was some finish to that game, wasn't it? We'll talk about the red card and the game itself in just a couple of moments, but there was another story that unfolded, and this is from a journalist who covers Manchester City for Goal.com, and he tweeted to say that police have taken a statement from Bournemouth stewards who claim they were hit by Aguero in the celebrations. City believe it's nothing. And then subsequently, there's also been a social media message from Sergio Aguero. He says, great win today. On this story about their steward, I did not hit anyone. This allegation is false and the TV pictures prove it. Come on, City. So Sergio Aguero there moving it on and saying there is nothing in that story, but we thought we would let you know what was being discussed today. So the big talking point from the game itself, of course, was a goal followed by a red card. I'm sure that all of you will have an opinion on this celebration from Raheem Sterling, and I'm sure the managers have something to say as well. So let's get their thoughts first, and then we'll hear from the guys here.
It's a good question. Yeah, I would like someone to call me to see what happened. I don't know. Because if we're going to celebrate with the fans, the best solution, don't invite to the fans. So after 90 minutes, 93 minutes, to score a goal, you can imagine how happy is the guy and the team, and we're there with our fans.
Yeah, my emotions were the polar opposite, so it's very difficult to imagine how he's feeling. Look, it's one of those things. I don't think anyone wants to see red cards at that moment, especially for things like that, but I actually didn't even see it. My head was somewhere else.
OK, bags of social media comments coming in about this. If you want to join the debate, use the hashtag PL tonight. We'd love to hear from you. We'll try and read out your comment on the programme. Let's bring Chris Foy into the conversation as well. So, Chris, before we hear from the guys, I want to get an idea from you. He was never late, was he, when he was playing? He was always right there. Oh, there's Chris. Yeah. Brilliant. Hello, Chris. Chris, I think we need to start by getting an understanding of exactly what the rule is here and why the decision was made to give a red card to Raheem.
Well, I think in the first instance, no referees derive any pleasure from cautioning a player for a goal celebration. But on this occasion, the celebration was excessive. And when you look at the pictures, you'll see Raheem Sterling run off the pitch, run past the steward, and then sort of he gets conjoined with all the fans and the police and stewards. And that is an excessive celebration, and quite rightly he was cautioned. But as I said, referees get no pleasure from that.
OK, so referees get no pleasure from it. They have to do their job. But as a footballer, you've just scored a hugely important goal in a high-pressure situation in added on time. Can you understand the celebration, or can you simply not understand giving a red card for it?
You won't understand being given a red card for it in the heat of the moment, but the rules do suggest you can't go into the crowd. But I would say the crowd seems to be coming onto the pitch as well at the same time. But I want to see players celebrating emotion. I don't want to see the emotion taken out of the game. When I played, I wanted to jump in and celebrate goals with the fans. And there's no better feeling than when that happens, especially a last-minute goal. And Raheem Sterling, that moment, that feeling, if you could bottle that, you'd be worth a lot of money. And so to be able to say, right, I'm going to control what I do, not go near the fans, it's a hard thing to do.
I think it's at that stage of the game, especially the way the game was going, it looked like it was going to be a draw. And then late on to get a goal. Real's right, it's one of the most amazing feelings in all of football. But then you also just made a really good point off air, Jake, in terms of saying if there's young kids at the front, you know, holding hands with their dad watching the game and say maybe they're a little bit in danger. So as a player, I'd say no way is it a red card. But I guess in terms of letter of the law, in terms of going into the crowd, I guess the way the rules are, it is a yellow card. And he already had one, so that's why he got sent down. That's
where this comes from, Chris, isn't it? It's a safety aspect, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the safety of everybody's paramount, the fans and the players. But if he'd have just stayed on the green bit a bit more, it probably wouldn't have happened. But that's football, that's emotion, and sometimes it happens.
How do we get this right then? Because we still want to see emotion, we still want to see great celebrations. We want players to be able to feel that they can celebrate the way they want.
Well, I think the stewards at Bournemouth have got to get in the gym and hold the fans back. There's
the answer.
It was too easy for the fans to get on the pitch, and then they came together.
You're right, the fans are coming to the players are going to the fans. There almost needs to be a bit of a meeting point where it can't go beyond.
Chris watched the game as well, you know, because I was watching the game at home before I come to Old Trafford, and there was a point in the first half when it was Ake who brought down Gabriel Jesus, wasn't it? And he was clean through.
Half, yeah.
I thought that was, if it's a red card, that was a stonewall red card. Obviously, the ref's seen it because he gave a yellow. Chris, how was that not a red?
Robbie, for the first time in my life, I'm going to agree with you.
Oh, it's happened.
No,
history is made.
I think realistically, the referee's watching a highly skilled footballer in possession of the ball, and he expects him to pass it, and then he gets in a bit of difficulty, and he's got a split decision to make. Well, a split second to make 4 decisions. You know, direction of travel, covering defenders, distance from goal. But it should have resulted in a free kick and a red card. You're right, Robbie.
We've mentioned already that you're the only referee to give Robbie a red card. What are your memories of that?
Nonsense decision.
It was 2 yellows. His first one was for a reckless tackle, which probably could have been a red in itself.
Was that after a bad touch or something?
And then his second yellow was for deliberate handball.
That's complete nonsense.
Why?
Because George, I was in the middle of the park, and George Boateng was 3 yards from me, and he smashed it, and it hit my arm, and he set me off.
Why did you send him off for that? I mean,
Seriously?
3 yards with the ball
Because he was writing the book.
Was that Danny Simpson one? A penalty?
Because he was writing a
Was that Danny Simpson one a penalty today?
Yes.
Why is that a bank? Because I think as a player, I know the ball travels a long distance, but as a player, I think it's difficult to get out the way almost of that one.
I think in all seriousness, Owen, what you've got to realise with handball, it's quite unique that for it to be an offence, it's got to be deliberate. And I think in this situation, Michael Oliver, the referee, I think he was in a great position. And the ball's travelled quite a distance. And I'm not surprised that he gave a penalty for that.
OK. Do you now reflect that you were wrong with the Robbie second yellow or not?
It depends if he's driving me home or not.
I didn't know you lived together. Brilliant. Thank you very much, Chris. All the very best. Thank you for joining us for the first time on BT Sport. Loads of questions coming in, actually, about City today. Sam Blade said football fans spend a lot of money on tickets and travel, so stopping players celebrating is depriving fans. Craig Mack, Man City getting a goal in Fergie time. Wow, I feel for the Cherries here. Blue Moon Central, it makes me sad that Raheem Sterling will miss the Liverpool game for showing passion to the fans. And that made the journey. It's a good point, that, you know, you've got to remember for the player as well. He misses a huge game there.
Yeah, Jesus scored today, didn't he, the opening goal for Man City. But if I'm Sergio Aguero, I know they've got options. They've got the Bernardo Silva, they've got David Silva. There's so many options. Sané was on the bench today. But he scored in 7 straight away Premier League fixtures. You know, I know he wasn't at his best against Everton, but if you're Aguero, are you going to be happy being on the bench one week, starting the next week? I'm not so sure, because he is one of the best centre-forwards in the world.
Yeah, Aguero's used to being the focal point of every attack in every team he's played in. And he won't be sitting there enjoying this at all. He's a guy who wants to compete. You can see his body language isn't quite the same when he's not starting, when he comes on the pitch even. And he'll be asking questions 100%.
Wait, who would you rather play against, Jesus or Aguero? Because they're different, aren't they? They're very different.
Jesus moves around a bit more.
Yeah.
And as a centre-half...
And he works harder out of possession, doesn't he?
But I would probably get more of a breather against Jesus, because he goes here, there and everywhere. Yeah, whereas Aguero stays up against you as a number 9 and asks you questions all game, off both feet. Aguero, for me, I love him. He was one of the hardest players I've played against, especially in the latter part of my career. So he's one of my favourite players to watch as a striker, because he can go off both sides. He go off his right side and hit the ball, go off his left side. Doesn't give you a chance to recover.
He's sharp, and he's so sharp when he gets it at his feet.
Yeah.
And to finish with, here's a message from Kyle. He says, Sterling rule, don't celebrate last-minute winners with the fans who pay tons of money to travel hours in hope of celebrating a winning goal with the players in the last minute. You can see that, but I think we can all see it as well from the safety perspective as well. Right, interesting start to the show. Keep your comments and your thoughts coming into us. Use the hashtag PL tonight, or you can send me a tweet to @Mr. Jake Humphrey. 3-word match reports. We'd love to know who you support and the 3 words that sum up your team's performance today. And so he doesn't get jealous, @RobbieSavage8 as well, if you want to send Sav a tweet, because he gets lonely. See you in a couple of moments when we will talk your old club, West Ham United. Welcome back. All quiet at Old Trafford, all going on here in the studio. You're watching Premier League tonight. Joining the conversation, hashtag PL tonight to be part of it. We asked for your 3-word match reports before the break. This one from Duds, who says Slaven tactically inept. He's a hammer, and we're going to talk about West Ham in just a couple of moments. Dave Bigger, a mark of champions, in reference to Marcus Rashford getting a goal today for United. Palace, a poor, says David. Solid, creative and attacking, says Dan, a Man United fan. Classy, Mikel Marino, Newcastle fan, Kelly there, and finally Pep is lucky. That's from Annecy, who admits they're a Manchester United fan. What would you say for Man United 3-word match report?
I'd say confident, controlling, control the game, and clinical.
Oh yeah, nice alliteration.
3 C's.
Love that.
3 C's.
Yeah, perfect. Better than Martin Keown's effort last week, which was 2 words when he tried a 3-word match report. Let's hear from Lee now. He's a Newcastle fan.
Right, atmosphere's building. We're heading up to the game. I'm joined by Alan. Come on! How are the tune? Let's get the 3 points. How are? Atmosphere's building outside St James's Park. Come on, the boys. It's going to be squeaky bum time if we don't get that second goal, second half. Oh man, I'm losing my breath though. That's absolutely brilliant. It's lifted the mood. I'm smiling away. 3 points. Hopefully we'll get a couple of transfers in before the window shuts. What a win. Giddy.
Well done. Needed that, didn't they, Newcastle? Big time. What about the post-match thoughts of Slaven Bilic? Here's what he said afterwards.
I'm worried, I'm not panicking, but it's very early, yeah, but like after the game against Southampton, we lost the game, we still had 0 points and all that, but I was very, very positive with the way we play, with the way we react and all that after we won. After we were left with 10 men. This is different, this is worrying, but like for every club, it has its ups and downs, and nobody will take us out of this situation but ourselves.
OK, unbelievable amount of social media reaction coming in. I'll read this in a couple of moments. Join in the conversation. #PL Tonight. Slaven makes the point there that it's very early in the season, and it is. However, that's now 3 wins in their last 17 Premier League matches, going back to last season as well. 74 goals conceded in their last 41 Premier League matches. Those are numbers that are not just this season. This is a long-term problem, and the frustration, I'll tell you now, from West Ham fans, is off the charts.
Yeah, I mean, defensively, I think it's been shocking for a while. They haven't been able to keep people fit. They brought in Fonte, who you thought experience would shore it up a little bit alongside Reed. Hasn't been able to get into the team. But I think this window, looking at him, I thought he'd made some good signings. Joe Hart, top keeper. Chicharito, goals. Do you know what I mean? And
Zabaleta,
experience. So you thought, added to what they've got already, you thought a decent shape of the team looking, but they started the season, they've not played at home yet, which is a big thing as well. You want to get your home games in and play games in.
Yeah, we have to talk about this, actually, because we were told this is the deal of the century to end up at the Olympic Stadium. But then you have things like a huge athletics event, which means 3 games in, you've yet to have a home game. That is horrendous for a football club on every level, isn't it? Not to be at home. That's your fortress.
So that happens when you don't own your own stadium, I guess. And obviously, I think you start a season, Bilic obviously had issues last season. They were under a bit of pressure. Obviously, 3 away games is a disaster, really, for a manager. And obviously, Rio made a good point. They've had a lot of injuries, West Ham. Too many injuries, I think. Obviously, Andy Carroll not playing. Your best centre forward never really available. But I agree with Rio. I think they've made some good additions. But maybe it's not the defensive part. You think Zabaleta, he's got Ogbonna, Reed is a terrific defender. Cresswell is brilliant. But maybe they're not getting enough protection from the midfield and higher up the pitch. Maybe they're not working as a unit because goals they concede is far too many.
I've watched West Ham's first 2 games. Obviously, I've not seen today's defeat at Newcastle. But here against United, they were losing 1-0. Could have equalised just before half-time. Big opportunity. They lost 4-0. They got torn apart in that second half. Against Southampton, they were 2-0 down. 1 penalty was given away. Arnautovic gets sent off. Then they showed great character, to be fair, with 10 men, 2-2. And then they concede a penalty in the last minute. Yeah. So that you would say, show great character, but individual errors, stupid mistakes cost them. So, and then today, I've not seen today's, but 3 defeats now. But in last week, to concede again from a penalties, ridiculous decisions from individuals has costed them.
OK, I'll run through some of the comments from Hammers fans, and at any point you want to just dive in and pick up on a point, feel free. Daniel Hennessy, a defensive coach, a certain ex-Hammer, who's sitting with you ideally, an attacking coach as well, and a new manager. Not asking for a lot, am I? And Darryl also says, Rio, please get onto your mate Slav. Come and sort out our defensive problems. We're unorganised and we're so unfit. Help us. That's Darryl's thoughts. You don't live that far away. What do you think? Would you fancy that? Going and helping out West Ham? You got the time?
I've got the time, but Slaven's his own man, and listen, I think Slaven's a very good manager. He was great for Croatia, and I think he'll get things right at West Ham. But I think the board, obviously, the deal was done, and he hasn't played at home yet. I think that bides him enough time. He's going to get it right, I think. But like I said before, I think they made good signings, and if he can get that team playing together, get the.
But he's not though, Rio. He's had so much time, and it's not
injuries to come back as well.
Jake, they've had a lot of injuries.
Everyone has injuries though. Injuries is part and parcel of football, isn't it?
Andy Carroll's an integral part of this team. You see when he gets back fit, he can score goals.
Mikel Antonio's massive to this side.
Big goals last season.
5 wins from their last 24 Premier League games.
Stats don't lie. They're poor. Slaven Bilic will know those stats are horrific as well. But I think if they have their best team out, fit and healthy, they're nowhere near relegation.
I'll tell you what, he might have to make an emotional decision as well. Because I watched West Ham here, and Mark Noble, who has been a magnificent servant to West Ham and has been a fantastic Premier League player, for me, when I watched him, captain, the lead of the side, he just didn't seem to be able to get about the pie. Listen, I think he's been a brilliant player, Mark Noble, but, Can he continue to play that many games in the Premier League for West Ham?
Ian says either the team are not responding to Slaven's training methods or Slaven isn't working on West Ham's weaknesses. You've all played for numerous football clubs. When you see the amount of ill discipline that's going on there, and we've spoken about the red cards, what do you think is happening behind the scenes?
Well, I went in and I was fortunate enough to train with him last season a couple of times. I went in for a couple of days just to get fit for a charity game. And the guys, there's a good spirit there. They seem to like Slaven. The training ground seemed a happy place to be. But what happens when you lose games, you get little pockets in the squad that maybe start moaning who aren't playing, and it's whether the management can actually keep that underneath and coming out and affecting the team spirit. And time will tell. And I think what happens, you've got to keep that lid on that, and you've got to keep that in the training ground, and you've got to get things right in the training ground for it to then come out on the pitch on a Saturday.
But this is against Newcastle, who had not scored a Premier League goal till today, didn't have a Premier League point until today, and they've beaten West Ham by 3 goals to 0. I don't want any manager sacked, but if I'm a football fan watching my team, who went to the Olympic Stadium to move to the next level and start attacking the Europa League and playing in Europe, I don't want to see my team being beaten 3-0 by a promoted side.
After 3 games, you'll be questioning your manager.
I would if we had 3 wins in the last 17, 4 wins in the last 24, 74 goals.
You'd be one of those fans now sitting in your seat at Norwich saying, he's got to go.
Yeah, I would.
After 3 games.
See, I'm not saying that as a Norwich fan.
So you're a Norwich fan. Do you want your new manager to be given a sack then?
No, because my new manager has been there for 5 games. He's been there since the summer. Slaven Bilic has been at West Ham for more than 2 seasons.
So how much has Slaven spent in this window?
£40 million on 4 players.
So after 3 games, after spending £40 million, you're going to sack him. You've got to give him time, after spending that money, investing that money in this new squad, to go and prove that his new signings are worth it.
Jake, the pieces of the puzzles are there for West Ham, no question. If they have their best team fit and healthy, they'll be
mid-table.
10th. Yeah, they'll be 10th or 12th. But obviously, the injuries that they have, Antonio's out, Andy Carroll's out, Cresswell missed significant time last season. They obviously had issues in goal. There's a lot. The balance of the side is wrong.
Yeah, under Sam Allardyce, who I thought done a great job for West Ham, how many points did they get in the 3 seasons? Something like 47, 40, 46.
46, yeah.
Under Slaven Bilic, was it 60?
First season, 67 points. Finished.
67 points?
Yeah.
Now they move stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I finished 11th last season.
11th last season.
11th is as good as it gets for West Ham, really.
What do West Ham fans expect?
Well, clearly, judging by the social media comments,
Jake,
they
3
expect
games
more.
in, the boys are right.
I'll tell you what, for West Ham United, I know they got a new stadium. Staying in the Premier League is good.
OK, well, we'll finish with Kartik saying the fine job Bilic did in his first season is quickly fading into the rearview mirror. It's been difficult to say the least. And Ian Lewis, at a certain point, you have to step back, admit the problem is preparedness. I can't defend Bilic any longer. This is shocking. Right, let's have a quick chat about Huddersfield. And David Major is a Huddersfield fan.
So 0-0 there with Southampton, full-time result. Bit frustrated really because we had so many chances, especially in that first half. Just couldn't find a goal. But other than that, a faultless performance really. Southampton, to be fair, they could have stolen it, especially at the end. They had a couple of decent chances, really good chances. So, a point isn't a bad result. Top of the league as well after 3 games. More than happy with that. Still haven't conceded a Premier League goal yet. But yeah, a little bit frustrated. But on to the next one.
You like that, didn't you? More than happy being top of the league.
Top of the league. But you know what? You're talking about West Ham, obviously, and the issues they are conceding too many goals. That Huddersfield team, what they do, they work incredibly hard. They press, they have energy, they have that identity. If you look at West Ham, what's West Ham's identity? Are they attacking team, great attacking players, Lanzini in there? But defensively, they have issues. This Huddersfield team, they'll give themselves a chance in every game. Well, they work incredibly hard.
They work hard, they're well drilled, and they've got balance in that team.
Yeah.
That's a big difference.
And this is a Huddersfield side who were 19th in the Championship the season before they got promoted. They had a tiny budget by Championship standards last season. They've gone up. They've kept the core of the squad that brought them up, and they seem to have kept that belief and that spirit, don't they? And it's like the teams that go down to League One and bounce straight up to the Premier League. It's keeping that core.
There'll be adrenaline in that team as well. When teams come up to the Premier League, I remember I'd look at the fixtures that come out. I wouldn't want to play a team that comes up in the first 6 games because there's adrenaline. Especially away, the stadium's buzzing and bouncing. So you want to stay away from teams like that. And they're a prime example of a team that's come up and they're floating.
What do they aim for now then? How do you sort of keep their feet on the ground?
17th. No question about it. If Huddersfield finished 17th this season, the chairman, the players, the manager would be absolutely delighted. They're just punching above their weight.
If they finish anywhere mid-table, 12th, he's manager of the year.
Yeah.
With that group of players.
Look at Bournemouth. Bournemouth finished mid-table last season. They've had a poor start of the season. They got the first Premier League goal, didn't they, today?
Yeah.
Charlie Daniels with a superb strike. Now people are saying, Oh, Eddie Howe under a bit of pressure.
I think
it's nonsense.
There's certain teams, though, listen, they get ahead of themselves. Oh, we've consolidated ourselves in the Premier League. Now we're finishing 15th, where they were happy to finish before. We finished 15th, we've been here a couple of years. Oh, we've got to get rid of the manager because we've got to go on from it. Sometimes you've got to say, you know what, be satisfied with what you've got. And happy that you're in the Premier League and you're staying there and you're consistent.
Brilliant. Thanks for your comments as well. Luke says, Huddersfield have the best home atmosphere I've seen, albeit with drama and clappers. We have no worries staying up. And Saints Forever, who's a Southampton fan, actually, says they know how to get behind the team. The atmosphere is electric. Hashtag Huddersfield. Are Huddersfield, from what you've seen so far, staying up?
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
Why not?
Because they were my tip, I thought they'd finish bottom of the league.
you can't change your mind after 3 games.
After 3 games.
Exactly. I can't change my mind.
After 3 games, would you say they stay up?
Well, they've got 7 points more than West Ham. I'm going to stick with my prediction. Listen, these predictions, that's why predictions are nonsense, because I didn't think...
You are allowed to change your mind through the course of the season.
You're not the 3 games.
No, you can't do anything after 3 games.
You winning an Orange Man.
We've already discussed that. No, I wouldn't. Right, stay where you are. We're going to talk plenty more after the break, including Zlatan and his return here to Old Trafford. You heard from Rio in the build-up to the live game this afternoon why it's made such a difference bringing in Lukaku. What does Zlatan still bring to this United side? Get your thoughts in for that and your 3-word match reports. Come back, there's loads of chats, not just in here, ill discipline as ever, but also on social media. Liam Kelly O'Rourke says it's way too early to be calling for a Bilic exit. New signings take time to gel. Judge him after 10 games and have a replacement lined up just in case. And that may sound
That's the number. I like that. 10 games. I like that.
But you have to do your business in that way. Owen Howard says Wagner done a great job so far, but remember Hull won their first 2 matches last season and still got relegated. You heard that Robbie still believes that Huddersfield will go down. Loads of you are enjoying the show. Paul says the so-called experts are wrong. West Ham United are rudderless. No style of play, no cohesion, and unfit looking. And James Wooding says Zlatan and Lukaku up front for Manchester United. While Zlatan is a top striker, it may limit how attacking Paul Pogba will be. So it's now time to talk about Manchester United, and we're going to start with Steve Howson from the Full-Time Devils. Steve, the floor is yours.
I think Zlatan being back for Manchester United is absolutely massive. We've had so much experience drain out of the team over the last few years that I think we really lack those winners, those people that have won titles, won championships, one thing in Europe. I think that we lack those sort of players, and I think Zlatan coming back into the team, being in the dressing room, being in and around the likes of Marcus Rashford, Martial and Lukaku, telling them to be relaxed, telling them to be calm, just giving them little tidbits of advice is absolutely massive. I'm not sure how many 90 minutes we're going to see him play for us, but I think he's going to have a massive part to play in the season just because of his experience. Rio, Owen, what do you guys reckon? Do you think his experience is going to be more than his impact on the pitch?
I think he'll probably both, knowing Zlatan. He came here and many people doubted him, myself being one of them, in terms of could he do it here at this age? He did in terms of goals. But I think more importantly, he'll be important for the Rashfords, the Martials, the Lukakus. They haven't got a title between them. He's got more than anyone in this squad, and I think that's the moments, January, February, when there's sticky periods in the season, people are getting tired. You've got someone like this to come in to really be able to come into big situations and take control, be calm enough, understand the situation and guide these young players through.
First of all, he's a world-class player. He scored a ton of goals last season. I agree with Rio. I think he's a mentor. I think he's mentoring Lukaku, Martial, Rashford. But Rio, Robbie knows, you're in a dressing room, right? You train, you're there every day for hours and on end. Sometimes you need a personality there. Rio was that presence in the dressing room. We had, in our first season, we won the League, Champions League. PK was in the dressing room. He was so funny. He barely played a game, did he? But he was a great presence in and around the dressing room. I'm sure Zlatan's presence in that dressing room is going to have a massive impact for some of these younger United players.
I think also what you need as well. My first season at Man United, I've never won a trophy.
Yeah.
I go in there and you get to about January time, just after the New Year, and what do we do now? Do we go for it every game? Do we take our foot off the pedal a bit? Do we just try and make sure we just ghost into games and see how the game pans out? Or do we just go full throttle first minute? I'm looking to Roy Keane, to Gary Neville, to Ryan Giggs for the experience, the guidance of how we approach certain games. We're away from home at Southampton. Do we go for it or do we sit back?
Rio, you're 100% right as well, because also, look who's the captain of Man United. And I love Antonio Valencia more than anyone. But they need those figures. They need those leader types. And Zlatan is that. He's been there and done it. And I think having him to come back into the side, especially in January, is massive.
The more for jealous these guys, because you're talking about being sharing dressing rooms with PK, you're saying Roy Keane. I was with Billy Bard and Steve McCauley at Crewe. Great players, but I mean, I was so jealous these guys playing with those fantastic players. And I wish...
Yeah, but you've done it at Wales. You was with Mark Hughes and people like that. They're big players, man.
But you know how people can have an impact on a dressing room. But you know how people can have an impact on a dressing room.
Feel a bit left out,
I love you, Rob.
Who can I throw in? Ryan Giggs at Wales. I can throw in.
Should we go and grab a cup of tea and we'll just carry on the conversation?
Don't you think players can have an impact on a dressing room even though they're not the best player?
Is that what he wants, though? If Jose Mourinho says to him, come in, don't worry about playing games, sit on the bench, talk to the young lads, make the dressing room happy. He is not going to... He might be 36 or whatever in October. He's not going to do that. He's Zlatan Ibrahimovic. He wants to be the superstar here.
I think Jose made a good point in his interview with Des, saying that in January, when other clubs will be spending, we'll have a new player on a free, really. I know he's going to be big wages, but that'll be the time. I think the United's Champions League group is good. So in February, when the more important stages come around, of course the group stage is important, but I think they'll go through that group. You've got Zlatan there, as these two guys have said, massive influence in the dressing room, great experience for young kids, and if they're struggling, he's been there, he's done it. What a time to have him back.
He'll score 15 goals from January.
Yeah, but do you remember? I agree. I think he'll score a lot of goals, but also. When we played here, Ryan Giggs would come off the bench and change a game.
That's what his
Paul Scholes would come
was,
off the bench and change a game by taking control of the game, taking the sting out of a game or playing that final pass. But also, Henrik Larsson, he came here as a striker. Everyone thought we would maybe past it. He was brilliant. He came in, his experience, his understanding of big game situations and creating moments in games that changed them. And he was a catalyst many times for us in games.
So you think he'll have a role to play without getting in the way of the development of players like Rashford?
It would enhance him.
He'll enhance him, no question. From January on, he'll get them goals and he'll be a leader for that team as well. And Rio's right, having people that have won is massive, also helping the next generation.
OK, so Man United have got Zlatan Ibrahimovic wrapped up till the end of this season. But what other business might be done between now and the end of the month? There's only a few days to go.
I think the most important thing for Leicester in this window is to keep our key players. We need to keep Vardy, we need to keep Drinkwater, and we need to keep Mahrez. Keep this team together at least until January and then see where we are.
Manchester City, well, they've had a decent transfer window so far this season, but to make it a dream transfer window, I'd be looking at getting Alexis Sanchez from Arsenal.
One name that would spring to mind is just out of sorts at Chelsea, Diego Costa on loan. Is it a possibility? Who knows? Watch his space. But one thing's for certain, Koeman's going to get a centre forward in.
Maybe we might see a big name come in. That's what we're hoping for. And Mike, actually put your money in, get your money out of your pocket and spend some cash, man.
Someone in the mould of Sammy Hippier, really. I think since Sammy and since Jamie Carragher, I think we've been lacking a defender of that mould. Van Dijk fits the bill. Go and get him, Liverpool.
OK, what's it like right now as a football player? There's sort of 4 or 5 days left of the transfer window. Is there a bit of nervousness sometimes about, is the club going to go and bring someone in and get me out of the team? Am I going to have a word with my wife and my 3 children about suddenly moving from Brighton to Sunderland with 2 days' notice? What's this period like?
Look, I think in the big clubs, you're always conscious. Rio, I mean, you used to love when new players came in because it kept it fresh, young, hungry players. If you play in a big club, you have to expect that people come in, you have to try and keep your position, you know, and I think that's normal. I think some maybe lower down in the leagues or in the table and stuff, I think maybe there's a little bit more turnover. I think in the top teams, maybe you see players, they stay at clubs for maybe a little bit longer.
If you're a player and there's massive clubs that are courting you at this stage of the season, you're sitting there like this, please, get it done. But then the other players in that team are sitting there saying, please don't let him go. Do you know what I mean? There's the conversations that are then going on in the change room. Are you going or not? Do you want to go? And the player, the difficulty sometimes, you're sitting there, you don't want to give away too much because you don't want to affect your teammates. So there's a lot of different things that are going on in the change room at this point that can affect, especially the immediate part of the season.
Do you feel disloyal if you know you're lining up a move and you're just carrying on as normal to your teammates?
Look at Mahrez today, right? He wants to move desperately.
Yeah.
And he was one of their better players on the pitch. Look, I think if you want to move, that's fine. But if you're fit and healthy, step on the pitch and put in a performance. Let your agents and all those other people do that. Mahrez, you know, he deserves a bit of credit for the way he's playing for this Leicester City side, even though he wants to move.
I think it's all about conducting yourself right.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
As I said, it's different windows now, but when I left Leeds to go to Manchester United, I made it quite clear to my teammates and the manager at the time, when I knew Manchester United were in for me, that I wanted to go. And I think if you're honest, from the get-go, I think you get respect and the players appreciate that.
Well, you wouldn't have not played though, would you?
No. I mean, I said to the manager, listen, I was at West Ham when I went to Leeds. Leeds came in for me, and at West Ham, and I played the week before against Leeds. And I think you're in there with your teammates. These are guys that you go out on the pitch and you go to war with, and you're trying to win things with. And so for you I couldn't imagine myself ever sitting there and saying to the manager, listen, the club's in for me. I'm going to down tools and not play. I can't go out there and play. I couldn't imagine doing that. I'd play to the last time, to the last whistle before I'm allowed to leave.
Meanwhile, Robbie Savage.
Well, I was a disgrace when I was at Birmingham.
How much? What do you look back on as the worst thing that you did that almost makes you think, why did I?
Was that also advice you had around you a bit?
Of course, the advice around you, but I had my heart set and go and play for my hero, Mark Hughes, and inevitably, when you move, you know, and I'll be honest with you, I wasn't never a player who was going to earn 50, 100 grand a week. So for me, the difference between 20 and 35, for me and my family, was huge. So this might sound wrong, but in the back of my head, I'm thinking, right, opportunity to go and play for my hero, you know, get more money, be nearer home with my family, my wife's family. So that all adds up, and in the end, what I'd done wrong, you know, in training, now ball would come to me, I'd smash it out of play.
You did that?
Yeah, because I was playing well on the pitch. I was scoring goals. I remember at Fulham, the ball comes to me, chest it down, left foot past Van der Sar. I was playing brilliantly well, probably the best football player at Birmingham. Just signed a 4-year contract, but I wanted to go. So Brucey pulled me.
What's the reaction from the other lads when you're kicking the ball
to
out
be fair,
there?
the thing is, you think the lads in a dressing room...
They kind of understand.
Because I was a character, right? I'd go in the dressing room and I'd throw my boots down, and some would say, what you doing? Some would laugh. They're your mates, and the type of character I was, I had good friends, and they say, what you doing, Sav? You know, blah, blah, blah. But every time the ball comes to me, I'd smash out a play. I got sent in twice from training, inevitably got sent home from Brucey, and was just told to stay at home until the move went through. And I forced it because...
See, I can understand what you were doing, yeah, on one hand, but if I was one of your teammates, I wouldn't have had that.
What would you have done?
Because
what would you have said?
I'd have done what I'd done in the tunnel to him.
what was that?
Seriously.
Can't say it on air.
No.
But I mean, you can understand, I wouldn't have been happy as a teammate because you're affecting my chances of winning a football match. Because you're ruining the training session that's preparing for a Saturday.
But on the Saturday, Ray, this is my point. On the Saturday, I was probably the best player. I was player of the year and I was the best player. That's why I got rewarded the 4-year contract. But on the other side...
I wouldn't have wanted you to play.
But the thing was, Ray...
It just shouldn't have been training if he was going to do it. Surely the manager's going to step in and say, Robbie, do me a favour.
He did. That's what Brucey done.
Yeah. And he's the nicest fella ever as well.
And I remember...
He took liberties.
Did you feel bad? Did you feel bad?
I remember the story. So it was all... I was getting sent home from training. So I went home and I thought, what shall I do? What should I do? I've got to put a transfer request in. So no word of a lie. I got a piece of paper out the drawer. And Dear Steve.
And got someone to write for you.
I struggled spelling Steve on Dear, but I got it right. I wrote down, please, this is my request to leave the football club.
What did you write?
So I went, Dear Steve, this is, please, I want to leave the football club. This is an official transfer on a piece of white A4 paper.
Best wishes, Robbie Savage.
I folded it up, I knocked on his door, and I give it him.
At his house?
No, in the training ground. Anyway, I've gone downstairs into the changing room. I've gone to Dwight York. I've gone, Yorkie, I don't think the gaffer was too happy. I said, go and have a word with him. You know, I think he's...
What did you expect?
Yeah, so Yorkie's come down onto the training pitch. He's looked at me, he's gone... So I'm waiting for Brucey to come out, and he's gone, home. So I got my... I got moved to play for my hero. I got Blackburn finished in Europe, and I got more money.
Do you regret it?
Do I regret playing for Blackburn and playing for Mark Hughes? No. Do I wish I regret kicking the ball out?
You would have done it a different way if you could do it.
Correct.
OK. Let's finish this part with a few comments from you guys on Zlatan Ibrahimovic, although you're now mainly talking about Robbie Savage. Luke says, I think Zlatan just behind Lukaku will be like Bergkamp and Henry. It'll be frightening. Mikey, Zlatan adds title-winning experience, like Rio said, but crucially, at a time when we'll be playing twice a week, because, of course, Europe and the FA Cup and all the other things that United will be playing in. Hasnan, Zlatan is an out-and-out winner, and you need that in the dressing room. I agree with Owen. Liam says it instills confidence all around him. And finally, Henry. Zlatan brings quality and experience to the side, which will be important in our Premier League and Champions League run-ins. Thank you for all of your comments so far. Right, in the final part, we're going to talk about Wayne Rooney, memories of him playing for England, and interestingly, the general reaction of the public to his announcement that he's retiring, and why can't we celebrate people a bit more in this country? We'll talk about that after the break. Welcome back. We're talking Wayne Rooney. Rio is seeing what you were all saying on Twitter. Thankfully, you're being nice about him. And it's time to talk about Wayne because we've got two guys here who, of course, played with him at World Cups at the very highest level, so we can get a really good understanding of what he was like as a player. But first, as this show is all about you, here are your thoughts after Wayne Rooney announced his retirement.
It's just a shame that he hasn't had a proper send-off as the nation's all-time scorer to bow out like this. you know, it's a bit of a shame.
I still got a lot of love for the player. He's one of the best of his generation and criminally underrated, I think.
My favourite memory of him in an England shirt has to be the 2004 Euros, particularly the thunderbolt against Croatia springs to mind. And at that point, Wayne Rooney was an absolute force of nature.
Dropped his shoulders, smashed one in from 20 yards, and everyone realised what we've got on our hands. Went on to break all the goal-scoring records, and as they say, the rest is history.
My fondest memory was certainly seeing his record-breaking goal when he scored that penalty at Wembley to get his 50th goal in an England shirt.
Back in 2008, went to the pub with a lovely young lady to watch England versus Kazakhstan. We won 5-1. Rooney scored 2 goals. It was a brilliant game, and that night ended up being the first time I kissed this lovely lady who's now my wife. So maybe Wayne Rooney has a little bit of a part to play in my relationship there as well.
I love that. And this is how Twitter reacted. The 3 different emojis tell us what people's reactions were like. And the biggest bit there with the 2 hands together, that's the highest amount, 60%. That means that people on Twitter were reacting with thanks or gratitude. But you can see there, look, the big smiley face is actually people that were happy he's retired. That's about 20% of people. So this is the guy that scored more competitive goals for England, competitive goals, because everyone comes at you saying, oh, he only scored in friendlies. More competitive goals than anyone else. Yet about 20% of the reaction on social media was positive that he'd retired. Does that make any sense to any of you?
I think that's typical of our country. I think if you look at the Tottis, the Maldinis, the Raúls, who were fantastic players for their countries, when they were coming up towards retirement or getting to the latter part of their career, they were looked at as crown jewels. In our country, we look at people, your surplus to requirements, get out as soon as possible. I can't wait to see the back of you. And I think this boy, when he retires from football in general, he'll start to be appreciated the way he should be, because he's created many a moment in not only an England shirt, but in Manchester United and Everton shirts. And he'll continue to do that for a couple of years. And he's somebody who's broken records not only for his club, but for his country as well. Top goal scorer. What more do you want from this guy?
He might have divided opinion amongst the fans somehow, which I don't know how anyway. But he definitely didn't divide opinion amongst us as players. We loved him. To have a centre forward that worked that hard up top. I remember I played in his first game against Australia. I played in that game. Wayne was the same player when he was 17 that in terms of his personality, he didn't care, did he, Rio? Came in the dressing room. I remember he scored a goal in training, England training. Do you remember it, Rio?
Yeah, it's funny, man.
I think it was the first camp that he was in, and it was the most ridiculous goal. It went through everyone. I think he lobbed David James, didn't he?
Top corner.
And everybody stopped training and clapped. It was a 17-year-old kid. He had no right to even be there, really, in terms of age. But that was the best players in this country, and he had everybody's jaws on the floor. And that was Wayne. He was an absolute force of nature, and he was a player's player. All the players love him. I don't know why some of the fans have any questions.
From his point of view, I think it's the correct decision, though.
You retired from international football, didn't you?
Yeah, I retired at 31. Basically, you know, I wasn't happy with the manager.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to get picked, I don't think. But his decision that he's taken upon himself to retire, and I think it's right, because international football, although when you're playing and when you're in the team and you're captain, it's great. But if you're going to be a bit part player, squad player, I'm not sure, you know, he'd even be first sub. If he was in the squad, would he be on the bench? I'm not so sure. Can he make an impact? I'm not so sure. So that time now spent with his family, you know, because when you go away with your country, and this might sound stupid, but at times it can be lonely and it can be dull and it can be boring because you are away. I know people say, well, the professional footballers, you know, it's great, go and play for your country. It is when you're playing. But if you're not in the team, what he's achieved, as Rio said, the highest ever goal scorer for England, the most capped outfield player, and the criticism from these idiots he still gets is an absolute...
And he's earned the right to walk away from England.
That's the whole point.
I think it's the right. I think it's the right call, because he's going to have now he can focus on his Everton career. He started the season brilliantly, and I think it's the right thing.
It's like a boxer. They go on too long. There's always one fight too many. He's not doing that in an England shirt. He's got where he wanted to get in terms of scoring the goals. Top goal scorer of all time. He earned that right to retire on his terms. Not many players get to do it. I didn't get to retire on my own terms. It leaves a bitter taste in your mouth. He's been able to do that.
Yeah. And it's just, I don't know what sort of world we're living in now, but you can go onto a talent show, you can go onto a reality show, you can prove yourself to be a bit thick, and suddenly you get put onto this incredible pedestal. Everyone says, oh, that person's hilarious, they're funny, they don't know where America is on a map or something. And then you've got a guy that's so talented, works so hard, and you don't get to the top through luck, do you, as a football player? Yet for some reason you retire and you get that amount of criticism. I think it baffles all of us. But look, thanks for this evening. It was good fun, wasn't it?
Yep. Good.
Enjoy it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining us as well. Joining the debate in 2 weeks' time as well. PL tonight. And we'll see you for Stoke against Man United. He's thrown his pen away. He's had enough.
Who's winning? Mayweather.
Good night.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Manchester United look irresistible. We're scoring goals at that end and we're not conceding them at this end. We look good for this season, don't we?
It just doesn't look very, very Palace. We're used to playing forward at back, three up top, getting the ball forward and knocking it down. I just don't know if this is the right way to go.
On we go, unbeaten in 3 games in the Premier League. Come on, you Hornets.
The most important thing at this stage of the season is getting 3 points, and Sterling's done that for us, so absolutely made up.